All right, welcome everybody. Doing something a little bit different tonight. This is a live broadcast that you are tuning into the Setup Man YouTube channel, but this is not a video game setup. I am trying something different with a couple of my friends. We are doing a NASCAR-based podcast tonight, and I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Simoleons 4630 and Zachary Brandevold. So let me give these guys a quick chance to introduce themselves and say hi, Simoleons. How are you? What is on your mind today?
Now what's on my mind? I'm looking forward to a great first show tonight. Really excited to be here. Especially after doing about 7 hours worth of homework, I am ready to just take a break and talk about something that I truly love and been watching for years now, and that is NASCAR. I am so excited to be here.
All right, fantastic. Let's take it over to Mr. Zachary Brandevold. Zach, how are you today? Tell us what you're looking forward to tonight.
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I am so excited to get this podcast underway. I'm excited to talk about Kyle Larson's dominance and kind of everything Cup and truck and NASCAR related. So I'm excited to get this going.
All right, so I'll tell you what, our first segment is going to be the truck race review. So let me jump in here. That is my category. So let me see if I can talk about the truck race review and then give you guys a chance to cover anything that I will inevitably miss. But I watched the truck race and got to tell you, it kind of concerned me. We did not really have any passes for the lead in the whole truck race other than restarts. We had one pass, stage 3, very end of the race, and that was because Ryan Preece had 19-lap fresher tires. So the race was really a big mixed bag to me. You had lots of action from second place through about 30th place, but no real action up front. Derek Kraus led the entire first stage, but then he had trouble with stage 1. They kept saying it's hard to pass, but it seemed like it was hard to pass for the lead. It wasn't hard to pass back in the field. But I was impressed with Infinger, who held off Ryan Preece for so long on old tires. And then I was glad to see Ryan Preece get a win. He hasn't had a lot of success in the Cup level. This was his truck debut. Felt really good about seeing Ryan Preece show that he can wheel a vehicle and drive it to victory lane. Felt bad for Derek Kraus. Guys had horrible luck this year. Maybe the only guy with worse luck than him has been Matt DiBenedetto. But overall, a truck race that was very much a mixed bag. A lot of passing back in the pack, not much passing up front. And then I think that was a little bit of a theme that we saw all weekend at Nashville. But that was my thoughts on the truck race. Anything you guys want to add about the truck race before we move over to talking about the Xfinity race at Nashville?
Really nothing on my end.
Okay. All right. Tell you what,
Yeah.
Simoleons, you are up next on the Xfinity race. I am going to move the screen all over to you to let you have it and tell us about the Xfinity race.
All right. In my opinion, I think we saw a little bit more action in the Xfinity race, especially with Kyle Busch and Justin Allgaier really, literally going door to door for the lead in the last segment. But really, other than that, I feel like there was a lot more action in the Xfinity series. Definitely a lot more passing, a lot more beating and banging. But however, in the end, it is going to be Kyle Busch just owning the Xfinity series like he always does, and especially notching his 100th win. And I can say, as a native Tennessean fan of the Titans, thank you, Kyle Busch. If you ever see this, thank you so much for not smashing that guitar again. Thank you so much. but yeah. Anyway, so that's my opinion.
Okay. All right, and we have got Adam Lauer tuning in. Says, "Hey man, hope you're doing well and have the kids had and if you have any kids, happy late Father's Day." I do have kids. They are here with me. They are actually entertaining themselves on video. But thanks for the comment. Had a great Father's Day. But speaking of Father's Day, we had the Cup race on Father's Day, And Zach is going to be up next, talk to us all about the Cup race. So, Zach, the floor is all yours on that Cup race.
Yeah, the Cup race was surely interesting. If you were not in the first place and the eventual winner race, Kyle Larson, there's a lot of passing throughout the track or throughout the race. And, it's very interesting when you come to some of these new tracks, you don't know how the car is going to handle. But one thing that I found interesting is since this was a high wear track, there's certain drivers, William Byron very well this season, Matt DiBenedetto to a certain extent, also Kyle Larson, obviously, and Chase Elliott. But, the kind of theme was just continued Hendrick dominance throughout the race. We saw that, Larson dominated this race just like he has these past couple and just like Hendrick has. And I believe that extends his race win streak to 4 races, if I'm not mistaken, if you include the All-Star race. So he is on a roll for sure. Back through the pack, Chastain, he finished in second. And I think Kurt Busch had a good day. I believe he did run out of gas at the last minute, but he did finish inside the top 10, which is a good run for him. Not so much for some of the other bubble drivers, such as the Chris Buescher. That was a big night or big day for him. He ended up getting out there a lot with a brake failure mistaken. So that was also another big news of the day. There's lots of brake failure. You had Ryan Blaney, actually Quinn Hoff go out first and then Ryan Blaney. And it just continued throughout the day. There was not enough, you'd seem every like 40 laps, a driver would have to go to the garage and or get into the wall and there would be a yellow. So definitely there was some opportunities to gain the lead there, but Larson just through and through, and he came home with another win. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is leading the standings. No, just behind, 10 points behind Denny Hamlin. So great race overall. I thought the racing was good. There was lots of passing for the most part, unless you were the leader because Kyle Larson, but definitely good race to watch. And I am excited for them to go back next year.
Well, I got to say, there's a lot of storylines there, the brake failures and the rotors, and I think they completely underestimated the amount of brake that was going to be used. So I think that's notes that the crew chiefs are going to take. How about Ross Chastain bringing it home second place, and then Chip Ganassi having 2 drivers both inside the top 8. So great day for them. But I want to talk about something here and talk about the Hendrick Motorsports. And I am sensing that things are not all that great at Hendrick, even though they are running well. I am sensing some frustration between Chase Elliott and William Byron. And I'm going to show you this restart here. We got a clip of this restart. And hold on, let me get it here.
Slows down as Harvick able to get by easily. Here comes
now.
Harvick.
Look at this restart. Oh, sorry, I hit it from the wrong spot. Look at the restart here with Chase Elliott and William Byron. Now, these are teammates. Now, Chase Elliott decides he's not going to help a teammate, not going to push his teammate. He's going to go 3 wide. William Byron throws an extremely late, extremely aggressive block. They nearly get into an accident. To me, this is not how you race teammates if you're happy. I think the frustration of getting beat by your own teammates and watching your own teammate Kyle Larson consistently win where you guys are running top 5 but not winning is starting to boil over. But watch this restart.
3 laps now, and in 70 laps, he can make that work maybe. Good launch here by William Byron. Oh, Chase Elliott trying to make it 3 wide.
Goes all the way down to the apron. Has to come back on the track, and now slows down as Harvick able to get by easily. Here comes Harvick trying to.
So there we go. So what were your guys' thoughts? Do you think all is well in the Hendrick camp, or do you think we have some rivalries coming within the Hendrick organizations? Simoleons, I'm going to go to you first.
I mean, there definitely could be some tensions at Hendrick Motorsports, especially with Kyle Larson basically winning the last about 4 races in a row. You definitely are glad to see your teammate doing well and winning. But if it's not you, you kind of start to get a little frustrated because A, they are a teammate, and B, they should be using the same equipment. But I kind of think it's a combination of, like we said before, if you ain't first, you're fighting for second. And so I think Elliott kind of saw where he wanted to go and try to make his move. But I think that's mostly it. But there could be some line tensions as well. And if there are, that kind of reminds me of a time where I think back nearly a decade ago, where Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson were starting to have a rivalry when Jimmy Johnson was at his peak performance, just winning damn near anything.
Yeah, so we've got a video of that here. Let's show it to show that this is not the first time we've seen rivalry among the Hendrick drivers.
48 cars going in the corner. 48's a little tight. On the exit, 24 cars not going quite as deep, Jeff Gordon, as that 48 cars going in the corner. 48's a little tight getting in. You can drive it in a little bit harder if it'll stick.
But look at the aggression and the drive shown by Jeff Gordon.
Whoa, they hit, I'm telling you.
I don't know if he has the best car, but Jeff Gordon has the drive to win this race. Burns was trying to lead to talking about that collision with Jimmy Johnson.
Four times a little upset. I guess he thought you got into him, I guess. Oh, he's treated different than everybody else.
On the exit, 24 cars.
Wrong button. Yeah, so this is not the first time that Rick Hendrick has had two drivers that were top-tier drivers that had a rivalry within his organization. So you think this is going to boil over, Simoleons, or you think that Mr. Hendrick's going to be able to get this thing squared away and smoothed over?
I really don't think that this is going to be boil over and get to that point where they are literally banging and beating into each other to try and take the lead. But I think there might be some peep behind the scenes where they are starting to get just a little frustrated with each other. But especially since Rick Hendrick has had to sell that speed between two of the best drivers the sport has basically seen in the modern era. Besides Dale Earnhardt. I'm throwing him in there just so I won't piss everybody off. But I seriously don't think it's going to boil over and get to that point.
Zach, you got any thoughts on this one before we move on?
Well, I'll just say this. I'll say there have been plenty of more aggressive moves made by some teammates. It was hard getting passes done, and especially restarts were pretty much the only time that drivers could do that without any kind of maybe adjustments or new tires or anything like that. There was just short run. A lot of these cars are pretty equal on pace. So I think William Byron just, he saw that he had speed and he saw that the restarts were everything. And so he made a block. And I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of tension, but I think maybe there's a little bit of an overstatement there, but we'll have to see because, who knows if any prior history together. I will say that, Elliott is looking to try and rebound. He hasn't done as well this season, compared to his Hendrick teammates. And even though he got that win, I don't think that it felt as strong as he could have had, because it got rained out, and who knows what had happened in that last couple on those last couple laps. But I feel like he's trying to prove himself with all the dominance around him. William Byron's doing really well in the top 10 consistently every single race. He's really coming to his own these past couple races, and obviously the Larson dominance and earlier part of this.
I think we lost Zach.
Oh,
there he is.
Did you get me?
Yeah, it cut out for a little bit. That's okay. Okay, so let's go into NASCAR news. One of the big stories was Bubba Wallace having a profanity-laced tirade, blaming NASCAR for one of his spins. I got to tell you, I think that was kind of maybe made out to be more of a story than it should have been. he's certainly not the first NASCAR driver to use some swear words over the radio when he was frustrated. And I think he had a legitimate point that his wreck was caused because the track wasn't cleaned up. Now, I'm not saying that cleaning up a track and getting all the minute pieces of brake rotor, sorry, I'm about to get a co-host here and my dog, cleaned up is an easy job, but that's what you expect from a top-tier organization like NASCAR. You expect them to provide a good, clean, safe racing surface for everybody. So I think it was a little bit overblown as far as a story goes, and I certainly think he had a right to be upset about it. But I'll go to Zach. I'll go to you first on this one. What did you think about the news story, and what did you think about Bubba's reaction?
Yeah, I don't know. He had a very up and down, and there was probably more downs than ups, if I'm being honest. In the early part of the race, he was really fighting for around the 25th position. And I think they made some good adjustments, made their way in the, teens, but never really went up from there. And of course, obviously he did get damaged. You could see it they showed it on the broadcast as far as to his roof. And they actually talked about impact of air that it had an impact maybe, but the crewmen are trying to do their job best they can. And I mean, literally brake rotors were disintegrating, and I think it's very hard to pick every single piece up, so I don't know. I think it was a little bit of a overreaction to his day that he had. And that's that.
All right, so Simoleons, what were your thoughts on Bubba's tirade, as it was called in the news story?
I mean, I certainly can't blame Bubba for reacting the way he did. It was a very frustrating day for him, really not getting being kind of up there, kind of where he thought he should have been, really spinning about 2-3 times during that race. So it was certainly a very frustrating day for him, and especially with something that he couldn't control, debris on the track that should have been picked up. But again, like I said, it's so hard to try and find every little piece of really everything on the track, especially when brake rotors are disintegrating left and right, like Zach said. So yeah. I can certainly understand his frustration, and I mean, I can't really blame the guy for it.
Well, I agree. He's not the first driver to use some bad language over frustration, and
he will certainly not be the last.
Yeah, he certainly won't be the last. And I thought he had a legitimate point. I mean, that is kind of NASCAR's job, to provide a facility and a track to race on. But other news, other big story is Chase Elliott disqualified 5 loose lug nuts on the car.
Yeah.
I can't believe he didn't have to come to pit road for a tire coming loose with that many loose lug nuts. That means at least one wheel had 2 lug nuts loose. But thoughts on his disqualification and the 5 loose lug nuts? I'll go to you first, Simoleons.
I mean, I certainly understand the disqualification with Chase Elliott. I mean, it is a massive safety issue because cars of that design aren't really supposed to be going over 150 miles an hour on 3 wheels. So I certainly understand that, but daggone 5 loose lug nuts, man. I mean, I guess you're going to try and pull something like that. I guess go big or go home, and they certainly did.
Okay, Zach, give me your thoughts on the 5 loose lug nuts.
Well, like I said earlier, I think Chase Elliott was pretty desperate for some good results, especially being outshined by his Hendrick teammates currently. And look, every team does it. I mean, there's obviously certain teams that try to emphasize the safety aspect and say, I'd rather not get caught. But part of me thinks, and I think I was reading this the other day, and I saw, he had, like you said, 5 loose lug nuts, and I'm sitting there like, how that had to be intentional. And I think what I saw was they said you gain 0.2 seconds of an advantage by missing a single lug nut. So I think teams do it. I think there's definitely pictures of cars going back to the garage early, and you see one whole lug nut off. But to that extent, I mean, at what point? Part of me thinks maybe Chase Elliott was thinking that there was going to be another time to come down pit road, and it wasn't going to be a fuel mileage situation, and therefore, a lot of these teams and the last stop they know of, they're going to make sure they get all the lug nuts tight because they don't want the disqualification. So, just an unfortunate situation, and that just puts him further in the hole. He's in the playoffs, but he's definitely being outshined right now. So we'll have to monitor that going forward, and hopefully maybe he can rebound next week and shrug this off, but we'll have to see.
Okay. All right, let's go to our next segment. Who's hot, who's not? And let's pick, each take turns picking a couple of drivers, teams, whatever that we think hot versus not. So I'm going to kick this off, and I'm going to say who's hot. Well, since we just came from Nashville, brake rotors are hot. That was the big issue. Yeah. I think it was not a matter of if your brake rotors and brakes were going to fail, but when. And you just hoped that somebody else's failed before yours did and brought out the caution so you could come down, cool the brakes off on pit road, get fresh tires on, and kind of have another buffer again before it got hot again. But I don't know that there was a team there that could have really made a full fuel run without having brake issues, because literally 30, 40 laps, somebody's brakes were failing. And if you figure if you run 70 laps, I got to believe that everybody was just sitting there with their fingers crossed saying, I hope it's not me. I hope somebody else fails before I do so that I can get it fixed. But who's hot? Brake rotors. But I think the crew chiefs will get this fixed. They'll bring a more aggressive brake package next time. And, first race in over a decade, things like this are going to happen. But I'm going to go, Zach, who you got next?
As far as who's hot and who's not, man, I would say hot right now. I'm going to go with Kurt Busch. The past couple of races, he has really improved. He had that stretch of bad runs towards the course of the middle of the season, but recently over the past couple of races, he's brought down that gap. I think it was 60 points at one point, and now it's down to, I believe, 20-ish points. So he's really improved. That 8th place finish, he really was in the top 10 most of the night or most of the day at Nashville. So we're gonna have to see how his momentum goes going forward. As far as who's not, and unfortunately, as you might have seen earlier, the 21 flag in my background, I have to say Matt Benedetto, my favorite driver. As you can see right there, he has not done well, and they did that crew chief change, which honestly I think helped out. You saw earlier in the run, he definitely had more speed and was able to stick inside the top 10. And unfortunately, they had to kind of limp around because they were down on engine power. They really even couldn't keep up with the Rick Ware racing cars. That's how down on power they were. Engine but it didn't blow. So I would like to see the explanation on that part as what happened. Maybe it was electrical or something, but he's going to have to pick it up, maybe get a win here if he wants to be in the playoffs this season.
Okay. All right. Simoleons. Who you got? Who's hot? Who's not?
Well, let's see. I'm going to go the obvious pick for who's hot. Just name any Hendrick driver. Just name any one of them. You're going to be right. I'm really right now looking at the averages for them. I think over the last 6 races, and this stat is just unbelievable. Through 6 races, so from now, to now from the Bushy McBush race, which is still a legendary name, cannot be topped ever. For Kyle Larson, let's just say, through 6 races, 3 wins, 6 top 10s, 6 top 5s, obviously. with an average finish of 1.5. What? I mean, it would not surprise me if one day they finally find like this huge tank of nitrous behind Rick Hendrick's stable, because that is impressive as all heck. And that's just not on one certain track. It's been on road courses. It's been on short tracks. It's been on 1.5 mile speedways. So he's damn fast everywhere. And so I guess I'm going to go with the obvious pick, Kyle Larson. And for who's not, I'm going to go Brad Keselowski. Because really, ever since Talladega, he has fallen off the face of the earth. I mean, through 6 races, 4 top 20s. That's it. He's just not been great anywhere. And speed is not there. And so for who's not, I'm going Brad K.
You're muted.
Tom,
oh, sorry. Muted. Here we go. Sorry. Let's talk about Brad K. After the Talladega race, how long after was it that the rumors started swirling about him going to Roush Fenway? Do you think maybe he's kind of mentally checked out because he knows he's leaving? Do you think maybe he's not getting 100% effort out of his team because they think they've got a driver that's jumping off the ship? Or do you think maybe he was reading the tea leaves and he could see the performance dropping and decided that's when it was time to start looking at other options? What do you think, Simoleons? Or do you think this is all just coincidence?
I kind of think it's all just coincidence, because coincidence is definitely a thing. But if it were just Keselowski having these kinds of problems, then I would kind of buy into that rumor. But here we see Ryan Blaney, through 6 races, a 16.17 average finish, and so he's certainly on the downswing as well. I mean, really, the only Penske driver doing well is Joey Logano through the last 6 races, of course. And so I really don't think it's a Brad Keselowski possibly going to Roush Fenway thing, but it's just more of a where did Penske go kind of thing, and where really did Ford go?
Yeah, could be. So I'm going to wrap up the who's hot, who's not.
Okay.
And say that my second pick for who's hot, who's not is I'm going to say who's not is everybody not at Hendrick. If you're not at Hendrick, you're not hot right now. And I'm going to go back to something I've been talking about since before the season started. I think the most underrated off-season move was when Chad Canal stepped off the pit box, went into the shop at Hendrick. I think his title is Director of Competition, but he is basically overseeing how all the cars are built at the shop right now. And I think that with the performance you're seeing from Hendrick this year, I think that's a direct relation to the role that Chad Canals is playing at the shop. Now, Simoleons, you said you wouldn't be surprised if they didn't find nitrous in Kyle Larson's car. Keep in mind, Chad Canals is now overseeing all of these cars being built. He has been known to, how shall I say this, operate in the gray area a little bit when he was on top of the pit box. So it would not surprise me if we came out at some point and found out, there's a little bit of bending of the rules going on, making these cars fast. But I really think what we're seeing out of Hendrick is a direct reflection of Chad Canals' new role.
On that point, Tom, I will say NASCAR came out with or I believe it might have been one of the affiliates, came out with a news article saying that they're going to scrutinize Hendrick more frequently and thoroughly over these next couple weeks to make sure that they're following all the rules correctly. But I'm going to go opposite. I mean, I do think Chad Canals had a positive aspect, but I think it might be their engine department. I've seen a couple of different people say that they may have 10, 16 more horsepower than the rest of the field. So we're going to have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We're getting comments here from Adam Lauer and Zach B. Appreciate you guys tuning in. This is our first podcast. We don't have a name, even have a name yet. So if you got a suggestion for a name, drop it in the comments. We've been arguing for 2 days over about 30 different names and can't find one that we agree on. But thank you guys for tuning in. Let's go to the next statement. Next segment we got is green flag, red flag, where I will make a statement and Simoleons and Zach will either give me the green flag or the red flag on it, depending on whether they agree or disagree with this statement. So, statement number 1, Kevin Harvick is going to be this year's Kyle Busch and struggle to win even a single race. So, Simoleons, we'll let you go first. Green flag or red flag on Kevin Harvick being this year's Kyle Busch?
I mean, I want to say red flag so bad, but I think it may be a green flag. I mean, right now it just looked like Stewart-Haas. Besides, if you take out the Nashville race where Almirola and Harvick performed very well, over the course of the season they just haven't been there. And so I want to say they might get that spark from Nashville to finally turn their season around and get things going again. But it might be a green flag situation unless they can pull something off when the chase comes.
Okay, before we get to Zach on this, Adam Lauer has a suggestion for the name. 2 guys with hair and their friend. No, that's out.
How about 2 guys with hair, 1 guy with nair?
No, not doing that one, Adam.
How about 2 guys with hair and 1 with nair?
Oh, that was mean, man.
Okay,
mean.
back to our regularly scheduled agenda. Zach, green flag or red flag on the Kevin Harvick statement?
Honestly, I'm going to go green flag. I don't think he wins this season. I think it's going to be very hard for him to, especially with the way Stewart-Haas has been performing throughout the season. I think this was a kind of unique scenario at a new track. And they actually brought back the high horsepower and low downforce for Nashville that we really haven't seen at some of these intermediate types tracks. And I think it worked well in their favor. They do have a good package at these kind of tracks. So, but there's not a lot on the schedule left. So I'm going to say green flag. He does not win this season.
Okay, Zach, let's stick with you for the next one, or let you go first on the next one. Green flag or red flag? The biggest surprise of the weekend was Hailie Deegan's 2nd place finish in the SRX series.
Man, you know what? After the Chase Elliott, loose lug nuts, I'm gonna say red flag. That was not the biggest surprise for me. I've seen she has done well in some of her truck races. I'm not really surprised by her performance because she does, I believe, have a little bit of a dirt background. I'm more dumbfounded how Chase Elliott had 5 loose lug nuts on his car and how he didn't have to crash or get in the wall and ultimately disqualified. I think that's the biggest news.
Okay. All right, Simoleon's green flag or red flag on Hailie Deegan's finish?
I will have to agree with Zach here and go red flag. I will also agree with him in saying that the 5 loose lug nuts were probably the biggest surprise. And really, I think the biggest surprise on top of that was that how the tire didn't fall off is my surprise with 5 loose lug nuts. But I will say it is very good to see Hailie Deegan having a good performance in the SRX series following Tony Stewart. I think she can do well in that series. As she's doing okay in the truck series. Granted, I believe it's her 1st or 2nd season, I think. Or I believe 1st season in the trucks. And so she definitely has some talent.
Okay. Well, I got to say, I think you guys got it right by calling it red flag, but for the wrong reasons. She won a K&N race in Las Vegas on dirt, so she's got a little bit of dirt background. And I got to say, Adam Lauer in our comments, I think he's got the right reason. Ross Chastain's 2nd place finish, that was the biggest surprise to see him run that well. So I got to say that was the biggest surprise. other big surprise was, I don't know if you guys watched the SRX race, but Brad Dougherty, NASCAR team owner or partial team owner, former NBA player, 7 feet tall. Biggest surprise, how much of a midget Haley Deegan looked like when he interviewed her. And I had to look it up because she looks so tiny. She's 5'9".
Wow.
That tells you how tall Brad Dougherty is, because she looked like she was a child when he was interviewing her. And I was like, oh my gosh, she must be like 5 feet tall. No, she's 5'9". And Brad Dougherty still made her look like a child. But I think the biggest surprise, other than the Brad Dougherty, Haley Deegan interview, it's like they couldn't get them both in the camera because one was up here and one was down here. But I think Ross Chastain was the biggest surprise of the weekend to me. Let's go to question 3. The Hendrick dominance comes to an end at Pocono, and a non-Hendrick driver wins one of the 2 Pocono races.
You want to go first on this one, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll go. For me, that is a complete red flag. I think Hendrick is going to continue the dominance at Pocono, especially with Larson on the hot streak they have now, especially with Chase Elliott, Byron, and Bowman. I can see them all doing well there. That's a red flag for me.
All right, Zach, what do you say?
As much as I want to say green flag because there's 2 races, and I feel like that is twice the opportunity that I could be wrong, I'm going to go with red flag. I think, horsepower is definitely going to prove its dominance here with the extremely long straightaway, and obviously the straightaways in between the corners too. Just too much power, and I think Hendrick has the most power out of any engine this far this season. So we're gonna have to see if I hope we get some, maybe a new winner, maybe. But that's my hope. But we're gonna see. But I'm gonna say red flag.
All right. I'm going to say it's a green flag. I'm going to say Hamlin, Harvick, or Kyle Busch. One of those 3 grab one of the wins. The other one, William Byron. William Byron wins the other race. So I think Larson's dominance comes to an end, and I think one of those other organizations pull it out. Last green flag, red flag question. Kurt Busch uses the momentum from his strong finish at Nashville to finish out the regular season strong and gets into the playoffs. We'll go to you on this one, Zach.
Man, you know what? I think so. It's hard to say, but like I said, I think he's been hot over the past couple races. Definitely getting these results that he needs in order to make the playoffs. I don't necessarily think that he's going to win, but I do think that he's probably in a good position in order to point his way in. So I'm going to say yes, green flag.
Simoleons, what about you?
I am also going to say green flag, but reluctly. I agree with Zach. I don't think he's going to win a race in the regular season. I think there's just too many variables to where especially variables as in meaning new tracks coming up, that I don't think he's going to do particularly well at, since most of them are road courses, and that's where Larson and Elliott are going to dominate. But really, I think the only way that he's going to get a win this season will be at Daytona. But I think he is going to be at least use his experience to get at least a comfortable point position to where he can make a move at Daytona and get in on points.
I think it's a green flag too. I think basically what Simoleon said. He's a veteran driver. He's a savvy driver. He'll knows when to push the car and when to just points race. I think he'll maximize his stage points. I think he'll get the good finishes. He won't necessarily win, but he'll get the most out of the car. I think he points his way in. I think his veteran experience get him into the playoffs. So that ends that segment. So now we've been talking about what's been happening. Let's talk about what's going to happen. Let's talk about a preview of next week's race or races. We have a double header coming up at Pocono. So Zach, give us a preview of the Pocono race from your perspective?
Man, I really think it's going to be an interesting 2 races. I mean, last season we saw honestly some dominance from the top 2 drivers, and Hamlin and I'm sorry, Kevin Harvick, excuse me. They really dominated most of the races there, and I can't exactly remember who won, but I think it's going to be more of the same. You know, there's clean air is going to be everything at that track. And honestly, with how big the straights are, like I said, I feel like whoever brings the biggest engine is going to win. And I think it has to be Hendrick at this moment. And obviously RCR and their affiliates as well, because I believe ECR, which also is their engine development, builds their engines for them. So, you know, you're going to see kind of like what we saw in Nashville just a little bit, I think, because you got some of the same kind of turn and kind of the same kind of straightaways a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to say we're going to see more of the same. I'm hoping that Penske can get better on the long run. One of the things that we saw at this past race was, I believe, the highest running Penske at the end of the race was in 10th, and they weren't really a factor most of the race. They had some good short run speed. We saw Logano challenging for 3rd and 2nd in the opening stages of the race in Nashville, but they really fell off throughout the race. And, you know, obviously Blaney had his brake issues. Matt had his engine issues, but Brad Keselowski, like you mentioned earlier in this video, he has been having a struggling season, and honestly, he was really back in 20th place for most of the race. So hopefully they're going to get back on track. And but like I said, I think we're going to see some more Chevy dominance.
All right, let's go to Simoleons. Give us a preview of what you think is going to happen at Pocono.
I think it's going to be pretty much same old, same old. Hendrick is going to dominate at least the first race. I think single race, the other teams are going to kind of look over their notes and kind of see where they can get more speed. But I really think that it might be Harvick's time in the second race. I know I said reluctantly that Pocono was going to be Hendrick's sweep. But now that I'm really thinking about it, I think Pocono might be the time where the Hendrick dominance is going to end for at least this week. For this week, I think we're going to get a breath of fresh air with a new driver winning. And honestly, looking back at it, Hamlin has pretty much owned the Pocono. I mean, he won his rookie year and really has a dominating faster at Pocono. So I think he might win one of the two races. But I think the other race is going to be a Hendrick driver going to win.
Okay. All right. So Pocono next week. All right, you guys have spoken. Now let me tell you what's really going to happen. Okay. Mark it down. Write these 4 names down. Okay. Denny Hamlin. Last 4 races at Pocono. Let me give you his finishes. 2, 1, 6, 1. Denny Hamlin pretty much owns that place. Okay. Brad Keselowski, 3 finishes inside the top 10 in his last 4 races. Okay. William Byron, he did have a 14th place finish, but other than that, it's been 7, 9, and 4. And look at how much he has improved over last year. And then Kyle Larson. So those 4 drivers are between those 4. Those are going to be your 2 winners over the weekend at Pocono. So if we have any other drivers that win, what happens? If we have any other drivers that win. It's not going to happen.
That's your guarantee, huh? That's your guarantee.
That's your guarantee?
I don't know that I'm going in Joe Namath territory, but I'm telling you, those are the 4 guys that you need to keep your eye on.
I'll bet you a beer that somebody outside this 4 wins one of the races.
I'll tell you what. I'll bet you a beer one of those 4 wins one of them. If my 4 win 2 races, I win. If my 4 don't win any, don't win any, you win. If my 4 get 1 win, it's a push. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll take it.
All right. Now tell them the 4 drivers. Are you taking them for both races, or are you taking them for just one?
Both races.
Both races.
Both
Okay,
races.
that is a bet, and that's bet. And the beer wager is still on for both the races now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Adam Lauer is liking my pick. Denny and Byron are his picks. Larson takes at least one stage. Adam, buddy, I'm telling you, I'm liking this. Great minds think alike, Adam. You and I, we're in sync here. So thank you for the comment. Kyle Busch is always a wild card. That's true anywhere you go.
You got okay. Back in 2018 and 2019, Larson had a second place finish back in 2018, and in the 2019 second race, he had a top 5 finish for Chip Ganassi. So, and he finished inside the top 10 in both of the stages. So I'm gonna have to say
and he's on my list. He's on my list.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, I will say it's kind of cheating to pick Larson right now. I will say this first off.
Well,
Blaney got a win in Wood Brothers equipment, so we're gonna have to see.
Hey, you know what Chad Knaus would say about that statement, Simoleons? It's only cheating if you get caught.
Yeah. Hey, Bowman has a tendency to come up in these late races after other Hendrick drivers have dominated. So maybe we see that again this race.
All right, it is time for us to say goodbye. So let's transition to the white flag section. Everybody give us your final comments. Whatever you want to talk about, this is open mic time. Let's go to you first, Zach.
Oh, all right. So one thing that I saw, I'm going to start with a bombshell if you haven't heard. Honda is rumored to join the series for next season. They were in talks with NASCAR. I don't know how progressed those talks have been, but they have been named because I know we've had rumors a couple months of a manufacturer talking to NASCAR, but Honda has been named. And they're gonna be potentially another manufacturer to go with for next season. I don't know how likely it might be. Like I said, it's still a rumor, but I will say they're pulling out of F1 because of their hybrid engine. They're wanting to go all electric, and especially in their road cars. But I don't know how viable going from a hybrid engine in F1 to a regular stock engine in NASCAR is going to work, especially if they want to go all electric. Maybe NASCAR is potentially looking at a hybrid version, maybe, because I do know that Honda has a hybrid car that they do want to promote in the Insight. But I will say, as a caveat, they have extended their deal with IndyCar. And actually, IndyCar is a whole separate division than their Formula One. Formula One's actually based in Japan rather than America, as their IndyCar division is. And they are very interested in looking to expand.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, Simoleons, give us your parting comments.
Parting comments. I just got to say, NASCAR, thank you so much for coming back to Nashville. It feels like all is right with the world again. Me being a Tennessee resident, love this state. I got to say, I love Nashville. I love NASCAR coming back to Nashville, one of our most historic cities, and really just like an oddball track to come to. So thank you so much for coming back. It was a fun weekend. As my parting thoughts, I would not mind Honda coming back. I think it'd be a great addition to NASCAR coming back for NASCAR. But I was gotta say, I miss Dodge coming back. I want Dodge to come back so bad. They had the coolest looking cars in my opinion. But so those are my final thoughts.
Maybe in a dream world we get Dodge and Honda in there, then we have 5 manufacturers in NASCAR.
Yes,
that would be way too much to even hope for. But all right, it is time for me to go with my parting thoughts. So what I want to talk about is kind of where we've been and where we are going. So we just came from Nashville. It is the heart of country music. It is a fan base that is dying for NASCAR. It was a great show. The enthusiasm of the fans, the stands being packed, the other than maybe the lead, the racing from 2nd through 40th place was great. It was a tremendous show. I was so thrilled, so impressed with the show that they put on and the support that they had. And I really feel like we're in the heart of NASCAR country. The country music fan base, the NASCAR fan base, they're kind of one and the same, in my opinion. So I thought it was a perfect marriage to bring Nashville back. Now let's talk about where we're going. We're going to Pocono. Okay, there is not a good seat in the track. You can't attract fans there. You can't attract sponsorship there. It was today that they finally got a sponsor for one of the 2 Pocono races. Okay, NASCAR, let's get this right. No, Pocono's not a big draw. Not in terms of TV ratings, not in terms of audience, not in terms of great racing. Drop one of those Pocono dates and give Nashville 2 dates. Make the move that aligns with where your fan base is, where the TV ratings are, where the ratings are the best, and where you can put the best product on. So my parting comment is an appeal to NASCAR. Drop one of the Pocono dates and give Nashville that date. Get Nashville. They're back. It was a great show. It was well supported. Put 2 dates on the calendar for Nashville. So that is my parting thoughts. Thank you guys for everybody that joined us, that tuned in, especially for the ones that made comments on it. I see Dylan Smith has made some comments here. I hope I've acknowledged everybody. Zach B is making some comments here. So at any rate, this is the end of our podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you thought, and we will try to get back on the air next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. And hopefully next week we'll have a name for this thing. So thank you guys for tuning in. And with that, we are out.
Thank you guys.